And as I talk about friendships, it's this really good idea. We know what it's like to have a friend or to be in a place where you don't know anyone, and then all of a sudden your friends show up. You're like, oh, it feels so good. Yet, friendships in America are in trouble. Some have called this a friendship recession because of the uptick in the amount of time people just spend by themselves. Because of the sheer number of friends that people have today, or even the number of hours or work that people are even putting into friendships. And so you take those kind of three elements and go, whoa, our friendships are a little bit in trouble here. It's not like Amazon Prime where you can go, I want a close friend and I'm going to 1 to 2 business days, right? And it's here. No, friendships take work and they take effort. I am going to build something here for you. We'll see if this works. But when I go camping, my son Benjamin loves to be the one who does the campfire. If you are the campfire person in your family, raise your hand. Like you're making the campfire? Okay. It's not me. It's actually my son, which is great. And there's a lot of debate. Do we go log cabin or do we go teepee? Teepee. We're going teepee this morning. And as you build the fire, he's really into flint and steel. Wow. And as he does it, it's like a spark, right? And it's usually like 70 sparks before it finally catches. And then after it catches, you can start to build the fire. And you don't just throw a log onto a little fire because it just, puts it out. And I think friendships are very similar to that. Right? Every friendship starts with a spark. And sometimes it catches, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it takes multiple sparks. You know, maybe it's your kids are on the same sports team, and you see the other parent, and and it happens 2 or 3 times, and a couple sparks later, you're like, oh, this friendship is going somewhere. You know, maybe they're in the same workout routine as you. You see them at the gym. Maybe it's at church on Sunday morning, and you're sharing your favorite color. And we're just creatures of habit, so we typically sit in very similar spots, and so you see the same people over and over, and it's like, hey, I've seen you 6 weeks in a row now. That spark is starting to catch. And then it goes into, well, maybe we should go grab coffee, or maybe we should have a play date, or whatever it is, and a little campfire gets built, right? And it's still not strong, but every time you invest into that relationship, you're putting more kindling or more wood onto that fire. It gets bigger and bigger, and it gets stronger and stronger. It's a little bit harder to put it out. And you fast forward, and some of you have some best friends, some really close friends, and you go, there's very little that could happen to that friendship fire that could put it out. And when I talk about investing into friendships, I feel like there is not a knowledge gap, right? There's basic things that we all know. We should be good listeners. Be kind to the person. Spend some time with them, right? Be sympathetic. Be authentic. All these things, when you do that, are just adding to the fire. And so when I was on this topic of healthy friendships this morning, I was praying through this, and I was like, Lord, I feel like our church, we've got this. Like, we know how to. Maybe we just need a little nudge that says, yeah, I should probably put some more time into that. And God started revealing kind of 3 friendship principles that I think go overlooked, yet have tremendous influence on whether our friendships will last the test of time. They'll become something bigger than they are right now. So that's where we're going today. We're talking about healthy friendships, but kind of 3 unique, I'm going to call them friendship kindlings, right? Friendship kindlings, because if we do these things, it's going to help build these fires. And some of these friendships that you have are good, but they're still new. And I think we're really good at that. We have a lot of these small friendships, but there's a desire in us to get some close friends and to go a little deeper. And so let's talk about that. And as I'm talking about it, a couple things might happen. Number one, God may start nudging your spirit, be like, oh, that's something I should do, or that's something that I am doing that I need to stop doing. Another thing that might happen is God may start to put somebody, like a person or a name or a face in your mind, and you go, oh, that might be a relationship or a friendship that I need to begin investing in a little bit more. So here we go. Friendship kindling number 1. It seems easy. It sometimes plays out hard, but Number one is learning to ask for help. Learning to ask for help. The reason this one is so hard is because you actually have to admit that I need people. It's a pride thing, right? I have enough humility to say, I don't got this. And it's so easy for us to take a step back and just kind of roll up our sleeves and go, all right, I'm going to make this happen. I remember in 2017, this is so fun because you guys are here today and you're a part of this story. But in 2017, I had not quite learned this lesson, and maybe you call it pride. You definitely call it pride. But it was one of those moments when I did not ask for help, and I wish I would have had like future Kevin speaking to me and kind of preaching to me going, hey, grow up a little bit. This is going to help you. But here I was, and anytime when you move houses, it never seems to have like, oh, this is the perfect time to move. There's always something going on, right? And for us, we had this weird timing thing where our house had sold. The house we bought was not ready for us to move in, and there's a 1-month gap. Our house had sold, and we needed to be out by Wednesday, but on Wednesday, I was leaving to Cambodia to lead a mission trip with like 15 or 20 high school students. I was leading with Jeff's wife, and we're like, man, this is like one of the biggest trips we've done. And my wife is pregnant, just on top of all that. And so I'm sitting in my basement of my house, and I'm just looking at these like stacks of boxes and the equipment and the stuff that we have. And it's like, how do I have so much? It looks bigger when it's in boxes. It's like, I didn't know I had this much stuff. And I feel that kind of sense of being overwhelmed, right? That sense of stress when I'm looking at the time gap. It's Monday. There's a lot here. And I also remember it being really hot. Like, it was just a hot day. It was a summer day. And so I start loading up the van with these boxes. And, my wife can't do this part of it. So she actually goes off to small group that night. And I get the first van load done. And I drive it to our new place. And it's only like 2 miles down the road. And they were going to allow us to store our stuff in the garage. So I can actually do the moving piece of it. I have to do the moving piece of it. And by the time I load up that first van and I get down there, I'm ready for my first break. And I'm going, the timing is not lining up. Like, I'm doing the math. Like, if each load takes this long and I have like 14 more loads, right? I hear a van door open. And I hear laughing. And I kind of just peek around. It's the guys from Matt was there. It's the guys from my small group. 4 guys come out of this van, and they're just like having a great time, and they're like, Kevin, what are you doing all by yourself? Like, kind of joking, but like also, but seriously, why didn't you ask for help? And we came together, and we did this moving project, and the next 3 hours, we got it all done. I didn't think once about the stress. I didn't feel the pressure, because it got knocked out, but also I was actually having fun doing this little project. And I was thinking about this whole concept of going, man, when these guys showed up, it changed everything. That's a good friend. Why did I not, when I first started, go, oh, I've got this big project, I'm overwhelmed, right? Pride. I have this, I've got this. Even though I don't actually say it, it's like nobody says, oh yeah, choose me, I've got a pride problem. You don't lead with that. But it comes out when you're stuck with a project all by yourself and you've never asked anybody for help. So if we can begin to lean into this concept of asking for help, a few things begin to happen. Number one is when we ask, we develop humility. Humility. We're not self-sufficient. 1 Peter 5:5 says, God opposes the proud, but he draws close to the humble. Right? It's not blaming others. It's not making excuses. It's just, hey, I need help. Right? 2017 Kevin. I wish you would have known that. Hey, guys, I'm actually over my head here. I need help. The second thing that happens is when we ask for help, it provides opportunity to put some wood on your friendships. It provides opportunity to build those friendships. For 3.5 hours, for 4 hours, I'm with my guys. and we're doing project, we're doing side by side. They physically see what they're doing. They don't see inside of me the emotional and almost the spiritual health that is happening and growth that is happening inside of me. But that project later, we're now better friends. You never ask for help, you never give those opportunities, right? If they had never showed up, it wouldn't have been worse, but we wouldn't have been better. And so if in humility, you can begin to ask for help, you also provide an opportunity. I've had friends in my life where I go, man, I've wanted to get to know them better, but they've told me, oh, I just didn't want to bother you. I just didn't want to bother you. Okay, you just didn't want to build the friendship. I get it, not hurt. But the third thing is this. It's kind of a obvious one, but when you ask for help, it increases the odds you get something. Our office manager, Jackie Jones, says this: you never get what you don't ask for. You never get what you don't ask for. It's true. I mean, duh, right? Askers in relationships, they get more out of relationships. Luckily, I had a wife who was not too proud to go, hey, small group guys, guess what my husband's doing by himself in his pride, right? And she was able to ask for help. But it provides that opportunity. So when you ask, then you'll get. And what happened was, the result is these 4 guys, the friendship grew, the kindling was put in, the relationships deepened. Jesus did this. He's in the garden, and he knows that in just a few moments, there's going to be a group of people that are going to come up, they're going to arrest him, and they're going to put him on trial, and they're ultimately going to crucify him. And he calls his guys over, and he goes, guys, hey, my soul, it's overwhelmed right now. Will you stand with me? Will you pray with me? Jesus, I need help. And it's not always the transactional help, the physical help. It's, I just need you to stand and pray and be here with me and be my friend. Jesus needed help. So as we develop this, learning to ask for help, 1, we're establishing that I actually do need other people in my life. 2, we're putting on that spirit of humility, drawing God close. And 3, it's giving your friendships these opportunities to grow. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you asked for help? If you're taking notes, it's a reflection question in there. You can answer it. If nothing comes to your mind, you're like, oh, it's been a couple days, it's been a couple of weeks. I don't remember the last time I asked for help. I could be talking about something here. My daughter last night was like, I was asking for help like a minute ago. You're supposed to come up and cut my doll's hair because she's trying to get ready for the dance. I'm like, all right. For some reason, kids don't have a problem asking for help, right? Especially when it comes to their parents. But as we grow up, something happens. And I think that something is pride. It's like, hey, I can do this now. So number 1, ask for help. The second friendship kindling is this. It's resist envy. Resist envy. Envy is this crazy thing that turns good things bad. It's like magic, right? It's a good thing, now it's a bad thing. Now it's not actually a bad thing, but the way we perceive it, the way we see it is bad now. It's destructive. Envy takes good, safe, loving people, healthy people in our lives. And because of envy, they turn into a bad person in our life. Jesus told a parable, which is a story, to help illustrate a point about envy. And it was about this field manager who went out to hire people to work in his field. And he went out early, it says early in the morning, and he found a group of people, and he said, hey, will you go work in my field? And they said, sure. And he says, I will pay you 1 denarius. And they said, okay, we agree. And they went out into the field. He goes back to the market, this field manager, at 9 a.m., and he finds another group of people. Hey, you're not working. Well, you want to go work for my field? They said, sure. So they go out, and they start working. And he does it again at noon, and at 3, and at 5 p.m., right? They only work till sundown because they don't got a bunch of electricity running through those fields. And so at 5 p.m., he finds a group of people, and he goes, you're not working. And they're like, no, nobody hired us today. And he's like, well, go work in my field. And so they did. And then at the end of the day, he calls all the guys in, and he says, I'm going to pay you. And he pays the guy who went out at 5 p.m. 1 denarius. Now, the guy who went out early in the morning is going, come on. If he pays him 1 denarius, what am I going to get? And the field manager comes over and he pays him 1 denarius. And that guy goes, that is not fair. I've been out here all day long and you paid me the same as this guy. Listen how the manager responds. Matthew 20:13. But he answered them, I'm not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I am generous? This is a tough story for me because when I first read it, I'm kind of with the guy who went out early. I'm going, yeah, you probably should have got paid more. But this is how envy works. This is the point. This is why Jesus is telling this story. Generosity in and of itself is a really good thing. Across the globe, I think people can agree that, yeah, you should be generous. Like, that's a good quality to have. And here this field manager is demonstrating generosity, a good quality. But what happens with envy? It turns it into a bad thing. That's not fair. This is what envy does. Envy is the opposite of love. If you've been to a wedding, they talked about love. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. Envy, because it's so destructive.